Welcome to Gracious George podcast. My new podcast features the topics of spirituality, divine love, blessings, and how divine providence leads us to where we need to be in life. As a Mauritian, being raised on a small island in the Indian Ocean east of Africa called Mauritius, I grew up in cultural diversity. I have African, European, and Indian descent, and I speak Mauritian Creole, French, English, Bhojpuri, and Hindi fluently. Initially, on the path to priesthood, my life took a turn. As I followed my heart, I learned the love that was made for me by walking with Jesus. My experience toward divine love has been an incredible journey, and I've written a book about how my life evolved when I turned to a greater love in life. It is called The Jesuit Who Changed Path, and it will be available very soon. You can follow along by finding me on my Facebook page at George Forthcoming Book. In this podcast, I'm sharing my experience with you, and I welcome your conversation and interaction on this subject. Today, I have the pleasure to welcome my good friend, Dr. Steve Titus, who is coming for the second time as my guest on this podcast. The last time it was in February. So, Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you. Yeah.
Steve, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Uh, I have two love in my life. One is professional love, that is mathematics. I have spent close to 33 years in teaching in an university college, mathematics, and I hold a doctoral degree in mathematics. And there is a second love that is to do with the mind, human mind and body dynamics. And so towards that goal, I my path took me to Gestalt, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and uh, the Kharkov counseling, many things. Because it is continuously, I realized it is not just that I am contacting mind to mind, mathematics to mathematics with my students, but their whole self, their body, their emotions, and so on. So I needed more skills. That took me there. And that was a lovely, beautiful journey, these two loves. And finally, what both bring, a science and humanities or study of psychology, brings is home, coming home to self. That's what I have learned. And if it doesn't lead, anything that doesn't lead you to come home to self, which I believe is the temple of the Holy Spirit or temple where God resides, we will never ever meet Him anywhere else. That's my kind of a conclusion in my short period of experimentation. And that's a brief introduction about me. I'm very much interested in this mind body dynamics and the spirituality. Yes, George.
Oh, that's beautiful, Steve. In
Yeah.
fact, you are already in the subject. Today, we are starting a new format to the podcast series that I've been conducting so far, where we'll just take a subject and move along with it. There is no
Yeah.
host, there is no guest. Whatever questions you
Yes.
feel like asking me, you ask. Whatever
Yes.
I feel like asking you, I'll ask, and we'll share and we'll move along. So we'll start
Yes.
with what you just said about the self. So, uh, when conducting the podcast, this one is our 15th podcast. There has
Okay.
been lots of conversation around religion, around
Yeah.
spirituality. And
Right.
so different people have different ideas about
Right.
these subjects. And so during this podcast, let's try to share what religion mean to us, what is
Yeah.
spirituality mean to us, and then we'll see how it goes along. So,
Sure. Sure. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah.
so how will you define religion? How will you define spirituality?
Uh, the offhand answer that comes to me immediately is uh, a religion is more of a physical structure, like a temple, first a physical structure of the temple, or a mosque, or a church. That is, to me, is religion. It's a body of the thing, and the spirituality uh, is a path that each one chooses. Okay, uh, while using that church or the mosque, and what kind of or the temple, what provokes in you, and the path you take is your spirituality. So the path towards yourself, path towards that invariably leads to path towards the other. So this self other dynamics is the spirituality, the path is the spirituality, and each person has to walk. It's not ready made. It's not like somebody made that breakfast and you just eat it. No, you need to search, you need to go. The place where you stay, the temple or a church or a mosque or a synagogue, may help. It is a good initiation, and then sooner or later you need to go beyond.
I fully agree with what you have said, Steve, that
Yeah,
we can look at religion as being communitarian, as being part of a group. There is a structure, there are
yeah,
rules and regulations, there is
right,
the aspect of administration, there is,
right,
because it's, it's a group, it has its own demands.
right.
And spirituality, as you said, it's a journey, a
Journey.
journey of the individual uh,
Yeah,
finding oneself,
yeah,
finding one's relationship with, you can
yeah,
call the absolute, you call the
yeah,
divine, you call
yeah,
a God, you call Allah, whatever name you give, but
yeah.
with the higher being is a relationship that grows uh,
Right.
throughout. It's a self-realization, and then it's a realization of this relationship with the other being.
Sure, sure.
But Steve, nowadays, either people feel uncomfortable to talk about religion because they say, in a way, religion has failed us, or uh, people are uncomfortable to talk about God. We say, if God uh, exists, why we see all that is happening around
Yeah,
us, and
yeah,
all the evil that is happening around
yeah,
us. And certain people will put religion against spirituality, to say,
right.
I don't, religion doesn't mean anything to me. What is important for me is spirituality. So,
Yeah,
what do you think about this? And what has been your experience being in a
yeah,
religious group,
yeah,
being
yeah,
on a journey yourself?
yeah. Yes. Uh, George, as you said, you've been born and brought up in Mauritius, which kind of is a confluence of many cultures and religion. So, in that sense, you have been fortunate to be in that kind of environment. And similarly, I am from India. So, here, you name it, you have it. You know, you've got Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Christianity, Islam, and yeah, in Hinduism, the various sects and the different shades of Hinduism and Islam also, and Christianity also, the various shades, and Buddhism. So I grew up in a place where it is it's human beings. My friends in the class, where some of them were Christians, many of them were Hindus, some of them were Muslims, and that's the kind of an environment I grew in. So, what the peoples, I completely understand their aversion towards religion, because in the history, when we look at it, and right now in the present, when we look at it in many places, uh, I mean, religion hasn't redeemed itself in that sense. Okay, in the name of religion, lots of violence, lots of anti-human activities, including murder and things like that, are happening uh, from the past to the present. And I think every religion has a blood in its hand.
Yes.
Every religion. No religion in this case they are going to say, no, we are morally superior, or this one. No religion. So every religion has a blood in its hand, and the people who read history and who are analytical and scientific tend to see this very strongly. And that is one side of the religion, and which is and there is a statistics that more people have died in the name of religion than in wars put together in the human history. So I mean, then why are we here, human beings? Why did we invent this structure called religion? That's how the scientific people will talk. It was not given by God. We invented it, and we are ruining ourselves with it. Okay,
So,
so that is one
in
side.
a way, saying that religion is an invention by man.
That's it. That's it.
Mhm.
Like any other structure. Okay, so that is their view. That's their view, and the other side of the story, they tend to forget also. The other side of the story, you can't throw a baby with the dirty water. Water is dirty. Okay,
Yes,
but
yes.
there is a baby also. There is a baby, and how come that every group, from different areas who didn't even have communication for, I mean, thousands of years back, how come everybody came to an idea of God or goddess? How come? Somehow this is an universal phenomena. Either they invented it out of their experience of love, or their experience of fear, whatever.
Yes. Hmm.
Somehow they came to the idea of God. How do you explain that? Okay. It is not that one day all the people joined together and took a lot of liquor, or they were high on drugs and they said, let's invent somebody. It's just that it is too universal to ignore that. So there is this one, and I really believe that it is, as you told, there is suffering in this world, there is selfishness in this world, there is sharing in this world, there is cooperation in this world, there is love in this world. And in this pandemic, you would realize all these things are happening. All these things, from the pharmaceutical companies minting money to the people really going out of their way to help each other in this pandemic. So both are there. How do you give meaning? How do you ask the question, why am I here? Or who am I? So I think the kind of shortcut to that answer seemed to be God, some meaning. It's a meaning making thing. and that is something which I think is beautiful.
Yeah.
Uh,
You said,
yeah,
yeah. You know, you rightly said that all religion has blood on their hand, and when we look closely at the blood, uh, it's in the name of God, but in fact, most of the time, it's in the name of power struggle. It's
absolutely.
and so I want to impose my. Uh, I have to grasp more and more power. So I
Yeah,
have to. So the fight between, let's say, among the Christians, the Protestants, and the Catholics, at the beginning we said it was a power fight. The Pope and the Orthodox Church wanted to keep the power. The princes, the supporting the Protestants, wanted to snatch power from the Pope. So there was lots of killing going on, but supposedly in the name of religion. It's the same thing you have, whether you take the case of Islam, whether you take on the case of other religion where there is fight, most of the time you see that it's politics behind. There is a
yes,
power struggle behind.
yeah,
So to come back, the opposition between religion and its spirituality, it's we don't uh, we are not born in a vacuum.
right,
Nothing comes from nothing. There is
right,
already a structure there when we are born. We are born in a family, and this family belongs in a group. It might be an ethnic group, a cultural group, and a religious group. We have the structure that is educate us to to have to develop a certain worldview, to develop a certain we have different types of rituals in all the communities. You have rituals. You have we acquire knowledge. We have teachings about the holy scriptures. We have different festivals we participate in, and this organization has to be run, has to be administered. So you have people administering these. And in the religious situation, you have the priest or the maulana or the imam or the pandit or the swami who are there to see that as a leader of the community, to people to look up to them. So we have this structure that carries us and help us grow and develop our personal way of looking at uh, at ourselves, at others, at, at the world. And so spirituality without this support is unthinkable. And it is true also, as you mentioned, this can be a support to help us grow in on our path, as it can be also uh, an obstacle to help us grow. Because in the case of Christianity, in the case of Jesus, had to fight a lot against the chief priests and Pharisees and scribes of his time, who had made of religion an absolute in itself with lots of laws and all, which was making which was a burden for the people to carry. and which was not liberating. At times, the structure can be so heavy that it's not liberating. And people at times have to stand against this structure in order to be able to feel more free to do what they are called to do. So what's your take on that?
Most of it, whatever you're saying, I do agree. The first part, what you talked about, is that it's the politicizing the religion that brought blood to the hand. Absolutely right. The vulnerability of the religion is how come that institution is so amenable to be misused. That's where the question is. That's where it gets the bad name. Okay. So because it is having an emotional connect, it is having a meaning giving function, and how that can be easily hijacked by somebody, because you need foot soldiers. All the princes and popes cannot go and fight war, and the foot soldier have to be manipulated or motivated to go give their life. How come religion became such a simple tool to use it? That is the vulnerability we need to keep questioning. And the answer to that is, if you see religion, as you said, is a support system. See, a child is born into a family, and you can't say, now go and earn your living and eat. It can't. It needs a support system. But for how long? So it is, I see it, the metaphor that comes to my mind is, when you plant a tree, you also plant a small stick along with it to keep it straight. So that, when it gains strength, and you tie it with it, and then as it grows, and after some time, it doesn't require that support. You will have to remove that support, or the tree will simply outgrow that. Is that all right? So it is to keep it straight. Sure, that function is there. That's all there is.
Yes.
After that, it is the individuals who need to really go on their path of blossoming into a good tree, and give whatever fruit or the medicine they are meant to be, and to be a great tree. That stick is not going to help you. So to put it in another way also, it is a salt in the food. It is not food. So are we giving too much importance to this structure for too long? And when people don't grow out of it and find their own structure, find their own path, okay, that is where the trouble is. And when I keep clinging on to that religion, it is these people, which is vast majority, who are very easily manipulated. Instead of that support, I give another support, and I say, you come and I'll do it. So it is a very hard work. And the religion need to let go of people also. They need to say that that's it. After that, you need to do. And that I see very, though the religion, everybody is saying that, it is not done very aggressively.
When you're talking about the support to keep the tree is straight, and at one moment you have to let go of this support, it reminds me of the case of St. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuit, the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuits. In his time, in the 16th century, the structure, the church, was was at its lowest. Was very corrupt. There was power game. There was this fight between Protestants and Catholicism, and so what he wrote was something that you said, that he, through his own experience of within that structure, and is slowly letting go of the support and discovering his own path, he helped, he shared his experience through the spiritual exercises, which is a way of training the individual to discover their own personal path, their own personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
And first, to believe that God is real, to believe that God is the root, and that cut off from the root, we are nothing. So first to be connected with the root, and then to walk on this path of self-knowledge, of relationship, and growing in that relationship. Through that, he was able to help so many individuals to become free of institutions and more light in their journey with God. And I think this is something that even today is quite relevant. When we look too much for security in the institutions, and then the institution becomes an end with themselves, is how to let go of that security and walk one's personal path of first to say that even today, God is real. God is my root. And without this connection with God, I cannot do much. But with this connection, everything is possible. And to move on this journey. As we move on this personal journey, other things becomes more make more sense as to fall into place because we know what to accept and what to reject. What is a support system, as you were saying, helping us on our journey, or what are the obstacles preventing us to move forward? And we say no to that, we say yes to other things, and we move forward.
Yeah. So that beautifully you said it need to free us, not to make us heavy. And this is continuously it is coming through in your talk about the religion. It's a structure that need to make you free, not the burden. It need to be independent or interdependent, not dependent. All right. It is the famous story of a donkey carrying sack of salt, and it has to cross the river. By mistake, it falls in, and then when it gets up, it realizes it is lighter. So because salt has this one, so every day it made it a point to fall in.
Mm.
The master wanted to teach it a lesson. One day it loaded it with cotton, and next day it fell and it couldn't even get up. So that's what religion does to anybody. For few, it depends on what you are made of. It kind of takes away that what is called the unnecessary thinking, junk, and you become lighter. For some, if you are full of cotton, you are going to take in a lot of heaviness. Therefore, it is finally the onus is on the journey, one who takes the journey. For that, you need to know what you are, and how you are, and whether you can trust yourself. Finally, it is the experience. For example, it sounds very beautiful when you say God is the root, and without that root, you can't stay, you can't give fruits. Okay. The person who is listening to these words, that's a problem. Scripture is full of words. Now, when you say, maybe you are talking from your experience of that root. I am the guy who never has an experience of a root. And I would say, okay, God is the root. What the hell? It's one idea. God is one idea in my head, and the root is another idea in my head, and I don't see any connection in my life. So each one interprets the gospel or Gita or Quran the way they want, and it's words, words, words. So it is finally what Ignatius of Loyola was doing was he was transferring his experience in the spiritual exercise so that people get that experience. Now, honestly tell me, thousands of people have gone through spiritual exercises. how many of them really recognize their experience of God in day-to-day life? It is the experience. So just the people who are anti-religion, they say, just shut up and you live. When we look at you, we need to say, wow, there is something. I can go on with my life. I'm experiencing something beautiful here. Something truth here. Something liberating here. And finally that experience is going to become God. In Mother Teresa's word, a hungry man will see God as a bread, not anything else. A man who is shivering in cold will see God as a cloth, a blanket. So the experience, to share that experience, I need to have experienced the warmth. I need to have experienced that love. That's why it is that interconnection, that family we are born into is very, very essential. And if I haven't experienced that love, what does it matter when you say a words, God is love? I have no clue what is God. I have no clue what is love. And I would rather do without it. I go have my breakfast, do my job, get my money, and I feel hungry. I eat. I have my sexual needs. I have it, and then so be it. Over. This is the triviality you can come down to. In case this is not the fault of religion, it is the fault of an individual of thinking little more, because these thoughts do come. Why am I here? What is the purpose I am here? I am facing all these difficulties and pleasures and good things. Where do I see in my life, where do I experience so-called love finally? Do I experience meaning? Do I experience strength? And once I experience, I would immediately tell George, this is what I did yesterday and I felt so powerful. Do you want to go through this? Come, I'll tell you these steps you follow. And if you say, no, I didn't experience. Okay, this is nice, I felt, and I think you will find your own way. That's the end of the story. Yeah.
You have beautifully put it, Steve.
Yeah.
But we can get lost in words.
That's it.
And yes, but what is the experience behind the words? And it's like describing all the colors to a blind person.
Yes.
And
yes.
We
Absolutely.
can, how can he experience
Yes.
the different colors
Yeah.
when he's blind?
Yeah.
You are right.
Yes.
And I think that it comes to when you're talking about love, about the experience of love, it comes to relationship,
right?
Being connected with someone. It might be the family, it might be friends, it might be that a teacher, it might be, but it is a connection, the experience of oneself being I give one example.
Right.
When I was a teenager, I had never written an article in my life. That is, in school we write essays and all this, but I had never written an article. One priest one day told me, George, can you write an article on the youth in your village? My village was a fisherman village. So about the youth in a fisherman village. I said, yes, of course. But afterwards I said, my God, what have I done? I don't know how to write. First to get the ideas, to collect the materials to write. I was scared to death. And then, but because of my relationship with him, I did not want to let him down. I said yes. And I tried, and with the help of other friends and the parish priest of my parish, I managed to write this first article. But it was a very tough experience. I had to stretch my limits. But after that, it was published in the Catholic newspaper, very short, but it was published. And there was a reaction of my family, my friends, congratulating me, and myself reading. So I felt good about
Yes.
myself.
Right.
I had a low self-esteem as far as writing is concerned. I did not have self-confidence, but this experience gave me that a better confidence in myself to try uh, more. And after
Right.
that, gradually continuing on that path, today I've just written a book,
See?
but
Love.
it started there. And
Yep.
so, as you said, it's experience.
That's right.
It was this relationship, this connection, this person looking at me in a way saying that I trust in you, George. You can do it. Go ahead. So if there is not the other person to give us this love, as you are saying, making us experience the beauty of life, it just remains words.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you touched upon something which also may focus on the subject of religion and spirituality in your experience. Okay, this person gave you a structure. He said you write. Uh, so he told you what to do and about what he asked you to write about the youth of your village. He gave you a structure. Rest was your journey.
Yes.
And you beautifully said it. I was struggling with I have never written that, doubts and kind of, can I do it, and no, I can't do it, which all these put together you could call it as low self esteem. And then when you wrote it, you did it in spite of all these things, you did it. That's your journey. And then published it, and the response of the people made you look at yourself differently,
Yes.
and you gained confidence, and
Yes.
more that journey takes place. It's an interaction. You understand, you are going inside what is happening to you and what is the response from others. That journey only George can take, that priest can't take.
Yes.
And now you have reached a point where you are able to share a lot more, and the themes have changed. You are sharing something about yourself right now, about your own journey.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. That that priests, this one is just a stick. You have outgrown it long time ago, but that experience is beautiful, and the experience of yourself and the experience of that interaction with others. And that's why they said, deep down, many of us may feel we are incomplete, or many of us may feel that we are very lonely. And to fill that vacuum, are you inventing God, or are you able to stay with it, have the courage to stay with it, and then uh, heal it. It's like again a seed. Okay, it is struggling to burst open in the soil, and slowly the root has to come out, and it's a struggle, darkness. And then the roots go down in one direction, and the leaf comes out and it sees light. That's another direction. Light is not the only reality that seed is facing. It is also facing darkness down there and dampness down there, and outside sunshine. Okay, but to do that, there is a struggle, and every seed goes through that. Are we scared of that struggle? If you are scared of that struggle, if you are scared of facing our own, like what you said, my own difficulties or doubts and things like that, if I don't stay with it, no growth. Unless a seed dies, So that is Jesus, metaphorically. We need to keep dying that, and that only that journey we can take, to feel lighter and lighter. Yeah.
I think, Steve, it's a beautiful rounding up of our
Yes.
discussion,
Yeah.
where we
Right.
have come to the point to say that, all right, religion is a structure.
Yep.
All right, it can support or it can be an obstacle. And but what is important is the journey,
That's right.
the experience.
That's it.
Even if
That's
there
it.
is the support there, but we have to take our personal journey.
That's
And
it.
it's not a bed of roses.
Right.
There are struggles, there
Right.
are ups and downs, but we have to keep on moving forward. Uh, there is no growth without a struggle.
That's it.
And it is through this struggle that we experience freedom, and everyone is looking for freedom.
Right.
And
Right.
so, in a way, religion and spirituality are the two faces of the same coin.
You could say that. You could say that. As long as you concentrate on the experience and not on the words, we are fine. Both of us eat mango and then we say, wow, it is good. That's different from me trying to describe to you
Mhm.
what a lovely mango I ate. It's a totally a different plane. And I think that is the plane we need to meet, the human being. Whether I'm a Christian or you are a Hindu, when we taste mango and when we say, wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I look at nature, I see a lot of your pictures in nature and say, wow, it's beautiful. That experience is what connects people. And if we stay there, I think we will never let the so-called the external people to manipulate us, because we know who we are and we know where to connect. And I think if the religion's whole idea is to connect with self and others, if we can connect and if we can bring about a beautiful world in spite of all its struggle and things like that, at least I can create a light around some three people around me. I can connect with them and be honest and free with them. I think we have done it.
Thank you, Steve. We have had
Yep.
a nice conversation as usual.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, as I said at the beginning, I have written a book on my journey, which has been not a bed of roses. There has been also ups and downs, struggles, but it has been a growth producing journey. And
Right.
it will be coming out very soon. The listeners can find me on my Facebook page, George's forthcoming book. Thank you, Steve, and all the
Thank
best
you.
on your journey.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you, George.